Who is J222 and what are these so-called toys? These are questions that many people ask themselves after getting their first look at his art. The answers to those questions are not simple, to say the least. He is an artist and these toys are his family, his friends, and his passion. Since a young age, Jason Sawyer, aka J222, knew that he was going to be an artist and has since dedicated his life to perfecting his art. This is J222.
Really don't intend to freak anyone out, you know? I mean, maybe just to open people's eyes up to realize what's going on in the world, but I'm not trying to like really visually fuck anyone. You know, to me, I see them as just characters, creatures, monsters, and just a translation of human life. Reactions always vary. Sometimes it freaks people out. Sometimes people might say, do you need a hug? Some people look at it and think, you know, like, oh, it's cute. And I like when they say it's cute because it kind of makes me laugh inside. But yeah, I think he's a little cute, you know? He needs a hug. But yeah, some people really trip out when they see it.
When I saw all of his stuff, I was kind of like, whoa, where is this coming from? Like, it's definitely not what I expected to see from him at all. Yeah, I'm like, maybe I don't know this guy that well. Maybe I shouldn't, you know, go over his house or give him my phone number.
You know, at first, got a lot of negative comments like, what are you doing? This is gross. Why are you doing this? And it was just what was coming out of my head at the time. And, you know, I don't really get as many of those comments anymore, so it's kind of cool. I think to really appreciate this kind of work, you have to have a real open mind, because it's not like your everyday, like, pretty painting or pretty toy.
I don't know. I would definitely say, I don't know, they're more of sculptures, because I've seen some people, their work they do with like toys, and it's kind of, you know, they have the same palette.
That's the misconception that I think he falls into. They're not toys. They're sculptures. You know, and that's how I've always viewed them.
To me, you know, a toy is a three-dimensional object you can hold.
But what he really does is like, I mean, he does all kinds of clay work, all kinds of like, I mean, like tons of things that like no one does. Each piece starts with one of these.
And this is Super Sculpey. So it's just a sculpting clay that I work with.
It's like, how did you think of this? He's like, oh yeah, you know, like I mixed this together and I spit in it, and then I did this, and then I put it under this, and then I threw it over here, and then it's just like to a point where it's just like, man, it's like a mad scientist who's just kind of like doing all kinds of weird stuff just to like create whatever, you know, he had in his head.
People most know these for either the teeth, the textures, colors, or just kind of like the horror factor that's played into them. Fun to make teeth, because it's such an interesting shape, and then going in to paint it, you know, you can either have a really clean, cartoony style paint job on the teeth, or you can make the teeth look really gnarly and, you know, kind of fucked up. I definitely find it important for myself to keep trying new techniques and to always be experimenting, seeing what works. If it doesn't work, how can I make it work? So it's always like a test of how can I top the next toy.
I watched my brother make the first piece, which was probably, God, I don't even know, don't even quote me on this, many years ago, from being cool, you know, like, oh, that's cool, into becoming, wow, like, this is something very impressive, you know.
First show I ever had was at Empire 7 Studios in San Jose, California. And then I did a few shows at Space Gallery, San Francisco, Arizona, Genuine Article in New York. I had some stuff on display at Kid Robot San Francisco before they did the remodel. I had a show at DJ Kubert's Thud Rumble Gallery, San Mateo. I always made it a point to make toys and send them to people that inspired me to develop my style, technique. I contacted this magazine called Purple Sky, and I just asked them if I could make them a toy and if they would be interested in putting it in the magazine. And one of the ladies that worked there asked me what my favorite band was, and I told her Balzac. And she told me that they were interviewing Balzac for this magazine. And luckily I was able to make 4 toys for Balzac. And I got a 2-page write-up in the magazine with them. I love doing it, you know. People don't have to love what I do, but I love making these, and it gives me a reason to love life. So this is me giving birth to a bunch of little monsters.